just by way of introduction, I want to just point out what's happening with coal in the United States because it is extraordinary. You go back to 2011, coal was the majority of electricity generation in the United States, and the majority of that coal came from just 4 companies: Alpha, Arch, Peabody, and Cloud Peak Energy. Since 2011, the combined market cap of these 4 companies has fallen by 99%. That is the steepest decline in value in the history of the energy industry. And just to take in the significance of this moment, recall that the British Empire, was the British Empire because of coal, right? Germany fought and waged 2 world wars based on coal. Coal was decisive to the outcome of the US Civil War. The North had a 28-to-1 coal advantage. Coal has powered our economy, India and China's and so forth, and we are really at the beginning of the end of the coal era, and the question is really what comes next. And last year, for the first time, the majority of new electric generation capacity added in the United States, 65%, came from renewables. So a really promising trend. So let me just say, I think the last 5 years and the next 5 are the most exciting chapter of energy history in our country, okay? And it's happening in California. And in my view, there's nothing about the challenge of integrating high volumes of renewable energy into the electric grid that's outside the realm of a solvable problem. We're going to have to do things differently. We're going to need storage. We're going to need a wider balancing area. We're going to need better prediction of solar and wind generation and so forth. But this is a solvable problem. And I would just point out if you think about the mythology that was propagated by critics when we started down this path, right, there's basically 3 arguments made. It's going to crash our economy. Okay, so California's economy has actually been growing faster than the national average. It was going to drive up unemployment. So unemployment's been cut in half in the last 5 years. And it was going to cause rolling blackouts. Well, we haven't had statewide rolling blackouts since 2001, and that was due to market manipulation by Enron and others, right? So really, that has been dispelled, and I'm actually very optimistic about the future. There's going to need to be as much innovation in the utility business model as there's been in renewable technology. I think our earlier speaker highlighted that, but this is a challenge we are ready to meet. And then the last point, just on energy subsidies, I think people often ask the wrong question about how federal support works for solar and wind, which is, what's the subsidy this year? Okay, I don't think that's the right question. I think the right question is, what's the all-in subsidy for all technologies since subsidies began? And there's fundamentally 3 differences between how we support fossil fuels and how we support renewables. Fossil fuel subsidies have been around for much longer, so the oil depletion allowance started in 1926. They're much more numerous, and they typically don't expire. So the oil depletion allowance and many of the other, the exemption of the Safe Water Drinking Act for fracking and these kind of things, those don't need to be renewed every year. Wind and solar are much more recently implemented. They have a much more sort of stop-start cycle. They did just get extended for 5 years, which is good for the country and good for California. But again, those will expire in 5 years. And it's just something, a meta point to make, because we would be, in my view, already much further along had our federal policies been more forward-thinking. In California, we've now installed more renewables than any other state in the nation. Texas is second because of wind. They've done a fabulous job with wind. But as I mentioned, all the predictions of the calamities that would befall California have proven to be false. And just in closing, and just on the job piece, the annual solar jobs census just came out. So we now have more employees in the solar industry than all of the utilities, both investor-owned utilities and publicly owned utilities combined. So about 75,000 solar jobs in the state today, about 60,000 of all the utilities combined, and the solar jobs are projected to grow to 90,000 by the end of the year. So it's really been a jobs win as well.